Okay, so yesterday I tried to do this and I recorded a good chunk of a demo and went to try and export it, and no. So we're going to try this again. So what I'm going to do is just show you the basic interface tour like we did with Illustrator. I'm going to show you where everything's at, getting started, all that stuff. To those of you who already know Photoshop, this will be ungodly boring, and I apologize. So, okay, so just like in Illustrator, I'm going to do a create new, and it's got things like recent, saved, photo, print, art and illustration, web, mobile, film and video. We're going to be focusing on print as graphic design. Now you'll notice that it's set, you've got these set options: tabloid, 11 by 17, letter, 8.5 by 11. Over here, the same situation. We want it set in inches. And when it comes to Photoshop, we have to worry about this thing called resolution. And resolution is all about how many pixels per square inch. Now, in Photoshop, you always want to start high with a high resolution, as high a resolution as you can get, and then downsize it if you need to. And the bare bones bottom that you should ever work with pixel images is at 300 pixels per inch. Most of your web images are not that size because of space. A lot of them are at 72, which is basically Lego bricks. So if you scan something, you need to scan it at least 300 dots per inch, or pixels per inch. Now, getting a small resolution image and then just changing the resolution after the fact doesn't actually give you more data. It's simply, oh, sorry, my email's on. It's simply, chops the existing pieces into smaller pieces. So you're not getting any more clarity or definition. You're just getting more chunks, and it's smaller versions of the same chunk, but it's not any clearer. Now, because we're working with print and we're looking to make all these things go outside the screen, we want to look at the color mode. And RGB color, to remind you, means it's never going to leave a screen. It's always meant to be on your phone, on your tablet, or on a computer monitor, or a projector, or something like that. If it's going to be printed, made for print purposes, like specifically designed to be printed, then we want to use CMYK color. Okay, everything else looks good. We'll go ahead and hit create. And here we go. So the layout, you'll notice, is very similar to Illustrator. Toolbar, palettes, work area, file menus, stuff like that. But before I go any further on this, I'm going to go ahead and pause this because I'm up to about 4 minutes, and I want to make sure that this software can export a file this size. So I will make this the end of this particular clip, and then we'll start off here in a minute with another clip. So here we go. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to just go, like I did in Illustrator, up through the file menus. That's these menus up here at the top, okay? And I'm just going to go through each menu quickly, but again, since this is a video, we can kind of rewind and watch it. So under the word Photoshop, you have your basic situations, different things like this, work face, interface, all this stuff. And all that stuff can be controlled by just clicking and dragging things. And then, of course, you have to quit Photoshop if you're on a Mac. Under File, just like every file menu you've ever seen, New, open, open as a smart object. That's a new one. We'll talk about smart objects in a moment. Open recent, close, save, save as, revert to the last saved version. Exporting. You'll notice lots of options for exporting, like export as, quick export as a PNG, which is a floating layer. Let's see, exporting your paths to Illustrator. Yes, that is something that it will do. It's got a pen tool as well. Let's see, generate image assets. What this will do is it will take all your layers and pieces and type and split them apart and save them as individual files in a folder. Adobe apparently bought Behance, so you've got that. Adobe Stock Photography is a service that you pay for, which we're not paying for, so never mind. Automate. This is really handy if you have a whole ton of photographs that you need to apply the exact same effect, filter, cropping, color adjustment, brightness, contrast, whatever to. And what this will do is it'll allow you to create what's called an action that you could just apply to an entire folder of photographs and hit play, and it will do it all for you. Let's see. Scripts. This is applying things to images that are eventually going to be web or video based. Importing. This is, same old. Video frames into layers. Images from a device, and then print. Okay. Next is your edit menu. Again, very similar to every software you've ever used. Undo and redo. Now, unlike Illustrator, you do not have unlimited undos. Because pixel data is so much heavier and fatter than vector data, you only get about 15 steps back before it cuts you off. Cut, copy, paste. This is where your spell checker is. It's under the edit menu if you do any typing. Things like edit fill, stroke, content aware. You're going to see a lot of these options in your palettes. But just like in Illustrator, you have redundancies. Perspective warping, free transforming of layers, brush presets, Adobe PDF presets, and then you have some other options here where it comes to color profiles and things like that. Now, in Illustrator, our workhorse file menu was called Object. Anything you pretty much needed to be able to do with a piece in Illustrator was under the Object menu. Our workhorse in Photoshop is Image. Image manipulation under this tab is everything from its color mode, CMYK, RGB, grayscale, duotone. Lab color refers to, if you go to, that's more for photographers if they have their, we don't really use film anymore, but the labs still use, if you do get film developed, they still process film using this machine. Well, lab color is basically limiting you to what that machine can do. All right, now you have adjustments. And this is where a lot of the subtle work happens for an image. Brightness and contrast, levels of color and exposure, curves, exposure, vibrance, hue and saturation. You should know that from color theory. Color and the saturation of a color. Photo filter, channel mixer, yada yada yada, on down the way. Desaturate. Photoshop, just like its name states, was originally created for the manipulation of photography. It was not like a painting and drawing program when it first started. It was for photography. So you're going to see a lot of photography lingo in Photoshop. Auto tone, auto contrast, auto color. This is things that they basically, there's an algorithm and you click that and it adjusts what it thinks is the best look for that particular image. Image size. Image size is important because that is the entire image. So if we look, it gives us the size and the resolution. Now, that's not to be confused with canvas size, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So if you have 100 layers and you change the image size of all 100 of those layers will change as well. Okay? Now, under canvas size, what this is the actual size of your artboard or your piece of paper. So if in Illustrator, if an object was too big for the artboard, it just hung off the side. In Photoshop, if a piece is too big for the artboard, it disappears underneath this gray area. It just vanishes. So you may want to increase how much paper or artboard you have with the canvas size. Image rotation. This is not just one layer, this is the entire image. Cropping, duplicating layers, duplicating images, things like that. Trapping has to do with screen printing and text usually.